All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we were taking a deep dive into, well, the bizarre.
Sounds
It
intriguing.
is, trust me. So we're focusing on news from just one day, January 8th, 2025. And let me tell you, this day was a weird one.
Just one day, huh?
Yeah, just one day. We're talking exploding crystals, wildfires threatening some seriously priceless art.
Oh,
Oh, and we can't forget the Florida doctor with a secret that is going to make your skin crawl, I guarantee it.
it's amazing how much weird stuff can happen in just 24 hours.
Right, I know. It's like the universe decided to pack all its weirdness into this one day.
And it's our job to unpack it all.
Exactly. We're going to figure out what makes these stories so strange, so captivating. Are they just random, or is there something more to it? Something, I don't know, connecting them.
I'm ready to dive in.
Let's do it.
I,
First up, a story that's both shocking and honestly just plain unsettling. We're talking about a palliative care physician, someone whose entire job is to ease suffering.
and the accusation is that he did the opposite.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm listening.
This is the case of Stephen Andrew Leedy, a 59-year-old doctor from Florida, arrested and charged with child sexual exploitation.
That's already horrific.
It gets worse, unfortunately. He was using an online alias, MaximumUncle #91112, to talk to minors.
Oh, no.
And these weren't just, casual chats. Prosecutors are saying he was giving these kids detailed instructions on how to harm themselves.
He was telling them how to hurt themselves.
Yeah, things like cutting, choking, even hanging.
God.
And tragically, a 13-year-old girl was found dead, and the method matched those instructions he allegedly gave her online.
This is awful. Absolutely awful. This case really reminds us that even online, there are real consequences, especially when it comes to actions that target vulnerable young people.
It's a stark reminder that the internet, with all its good, can also be a tool for those with truly evil intentions.
It is.
Okay, so we've got this chilling crime story. Now, get ready for a complete shift, something straight out of a disaster movie. We're heading to Los Angeles, where wildfires are raging out of control.
Oh, wow. I remember hearing about those.
Southern California was in a truly terrifying situation that day.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking 4 major wildfires fueled by Santa Ana winds gusting up to 99 miles per hour, just tearing through the area.
That's insane.
It was. Tens of thousands of people had to flee their homes. You've got smoke filling the sky. You can smell burning in the air. It felt apocalyptic.
I bet.
And the destruction, massive. Homes, businesses, even a synagogue in Pasadena, all gone. The Eaton fire alone burned over 10,000 acres.
Devastating.
It is. Makes you think about everyone who lost everything. But there was a glimmer of hope in all this, a story of resilience, actually. The Getty Villa, that museum filled with ancient art.
Yeah.
It survived the inferno.
Wow.
The Getty Villa's survival is a testament to their dedication to fire prevention.
Yeah.
They've got all this brush cleared around the property. They've got their own water storage on site. And get this, they have a sophisticated air handling system. It keeps the gallery sealed off from all that smoke and heat.
So they were prepared.
Extremely. They knew the risks, and they took every step to protect this irreplaceable collection. And it worked.
That's amazing. It shows how important preparation can be when it comes to disasters.
It does.
Yeah.
But hold on, because this is where things get really interesting. Remember those insane Santa Ana winds we were talking about?
Yeah.
They're more than just strong winds. There's something called downsloping, and it makes them even more dangerous.
Downsloping. Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Picture this. You've got these winds blowing westward from the desert towards the California coast, and they slam into the San Gabriel Mountains.
Okay.
As that air is forced up and over the mountains, it gets compressed and heats up even more.
So the mountains are acting like a giant bellows, pushing that hot air down.
You got it. And as this hot, compressed air flows down the other side of the mountains, it picks up speed, creating these crazy strong gusts and drying out all the vegetation below. That's downsloping.
Wow, so it's like the mountains themselves are adding fuel to the fire.
It's wild, right? A perfect or maybe terrifying example of how geography and weather can team up to create seriously destructive events.
I'll say.
Okay, so we've gone from the dark side of the internet to the heart of a natural disaster. Ready for something completely different.
Always.
Let's head over to a lab in Cincinnati. There, some scientists are studying crystals that act like something straight out of science fiction.
Crystals. What's so sci-fi about crystals?
These aren't your grandma's crystals. We're talking about the research of Professor Anna Goodmansdottir at the University of Cincinnati. Her team is growing crystals that bend, twist, bounce, and get this, they can even explode when exposed to light.
Exploding crystals. Now that sounds pretty sci-fi.
Right. It does, doesn't it? But it's totally real. Apparently, it has to do with how the molecules in these crystals are arranged. Some of them can actually bend with enough force to lift objects hundreds of times their weight,
That's impressive.
isn't it? Now, the big question, what could we actually use this for?
That is the question, isn't it? But the possibilities are really exciting. Imagine materials that can adapt to changes in light. Think about things like, I don't know, air safety, maybe even space travel.
Hold on, crystals helping us reach for the stars. Now, that's a twist I didn't see coming.
It just goes to show that even the weirdest scientific discoveries can have huge implications.
All right, so we've had disturbing, we've had destructive, and now we've got downright bizarre. But January 8th wasn't done with us yet.
What else happened?
Let's shift gears and head over to Macomb County, Michigan. That's where a young woman named Ashley Elkins disappeared.
Oh no, another bad one.
This is one of the stories that just gets to you. This young woman just living her life, and then poof, she's gone.
What happened?
So Ashley was last seen leaving her home in Warren, Michigan on January 2nd. Her phone's last known location was at her ex-boyfriend's apartment in Roseville. And then her car turns up abandoned, miles away from everything. Yep. And to make things even weirder, her family was getting these strange texts from her on the day she disappeared. They just didn't sound like her, you know?
So something was definitely off.
Totally. The police are investigating, of course.
Yeah.
They're treating the ex-boyfriend's apartment as a crime scene, but the whole thing is just shrouded in mystery.
So many questions, not enough answers.
Exactly. It makes you think about the role of technology in all this, right? Is it a help or a hindrance in this case? It can provide clues, but it can also be used to hide the truth.
A double-edged sword.
Totally. And speaking of technology and deception, let's talk about a story that perfectly highlights how easy it is to get fooled in the digital age.
Oh, this sounds interesting.
Oh, it is. We're talking about an Instagram hoax that had Portland residents going crazy, questioning everything they saw online.
What kind of hoax?
There was this Instagram user at PDX Bike Life for All. They started posting these videos that just seemed way too crazy to be true.
Like what?
Like there was one video of a bear just casually strolling through Mount Tabor Park. Another one showing an alligator swimming in the Columbia River.
An alligator in the Columbia River.
That's what I said. But the one that really got people was a video of an SUV smashing right through the front of a mall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, some people actually believed these videos. I mean, some were obviously fake, but others were so well done that they really sparked debate online.
So how did it end?
Well, eventually the creator came clean, admitted that every single video was fake, CGI, the whole 9 yards. He said he wanted to prove how easy it is to manipulate people with what they see online.
And he did a good job because people were believing it.
Right. It's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
You know, we're all so vulnerable to misinformation, especially when it comes in something engaging, like a video. Makes you wonder what else we're all blindly accepting as truth.
That's scary. It really makes you think.
It does. Okay, so far we've got exploding crystals, escaped virtual wildfires, and a CGI alligator in the Columbia River. But believe it or not, that's just the beginning of the weirdness from January 8th.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. We've got news about the Arctic, a bird flu scare, and a brand new kind of quantum particle that's going to blow your mind.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. Tell me everything. Remember all that talk about drilling for oil in the Arctic? In the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge?
Yeah, it was a huge debate for a while.
It was. And get this. Turns out, nobody wants to do it.
Wait, what? No companies want to drill there?
Nope. The Bureau of Land Management held this big lease sale for oil and gas exploration in the refuge, and, well, it was a bust. No bids.
That's wild. Why not? I mean, you'd think with all that oil.
Right, you'd think so. But it seems like there are a few things at play. First, you've got the environmental impact. Drilling in such a sensitive area, people are worried.
Yeah, I get that. The Arctic is already facing so many challenges with climate change.
Exactly. Plus, operating in the Arctic is no walk in the park. It's expensive, it's logistically difficult, and there's the constant threat of lawsuits from environmental groups.
So it's not just about the potential profits. It's about the risks, too.
It is. And maybe, just maybe, it's a sign that things are changing. The world is starting to take climate change more seriously, looking more toward renewable energy.
I hope so. It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of potential threats, though, the USDA is doing something pretty interesting to try and head off another crisis. Bird flu.
Bird flu.
Yeah, they're expanding their milk testing program to check dairy herds for this H5N1 virus.
Wait a second. Bird flu in cows? Isn't that, well, a bird thing?
You'd think, right?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently H5N1 can also infect mammals, even humans. in some cases. It's mainly a problem for birds, obviously. It can make them really sick, even kill them. That's a big deal for the poultry industry.
Yeah, huge economic losses. Makes sense. But why milk? Why test the milk?
So the USDA's got this National Milk Testing Strategy, or NMTS. They're adding 15 more states to it, so now it covers 28. And by testing dairy herds, they get a better handle on how widespread the virus is. Helps them prevent outbreaks.
So this isn't just about protecting cows, it's about protecting people too.
Exactly. Because while human cases of H5N1 are rare, they can be really, really serious. So keeping tabs on it in cows might help stop it from spreading to us.
Another reminder that everything's connected, you know, human health, animal health, the environment.
It all ties together. All right, let's shift gears again. We've had crime, wildfires, a disappearing woman, and a bird flu scare.
Sounds about right for January 8th.
Right. But now, hold on tight because we're diving into the world of quantum physics. Ever heard of something called a fractional excitant?
Fractional what now?
A fractional excitant. Honestly, I'm not even sure I get what a regular excitant is.
Yeah, it's pretty complex stuff. So imagine you've got this semiconductor material like silicon. You shine a light on it. That light creates an excited electron, and when it moves, it leaves behind this hole.
Okay.
The electron and the hole are attracted to each other, and when they pair up, that's an excitant.
So an electron and a hole walk into a bar.
Exactly. Well, not quite a bar, but they do form this bound pair. Now, a fractional excitant is like a piece of a regular excitant. It carries only a fraction of its charge. Like you're splitting the electron and the hole into smaller bits, each with part of the original charge.
Whoa. So we're splitting the atom, but even smaller?
Kind of like that, yeah. And this discovery, it's potentially huge for fields like quantum computing and material science.
A tiny particle with giant implications. Gotta love physics.
Right. It just goes to show you never know where the next big breakthrough is going to come from. But hey, let's take a break from the subatomic world for a second. There's this blog post making the rounds, and it's pretty thought-provoking. It's called Apocalypse Now, or maybe not.
Apocalypse Now. Is someone predicting the end of the world?
Not exactly. It's from a local blog, vishanloop.com. And the author's basically connecting these seemingly random things happening in society, things like more car accidents, more heart attacks. And they're asking, is this a sign of some big shift? Or, you know, the apocalypse?
A little doomsday prepping with a side of social commentary.
That's one way to put it. They even get into politics a bit, talking about Trump's idea for a Department of Government efficiency.
Wait, a what?
A Department of Government efficiency. And the kicker. Trump wants Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to run it.
Elon Musk in charge of a government department. That's a recipe for, well, something.
Right. The author looks at both sides, you know. It could be a way to make government less, well, messy. But can you imagine Musk and Ramaswamy working together?
That's a lot of personality in one room.
You think? But speaking of things that could be chaotic, let's end on a slightly prettier note. AccuWeather's predicting some amazing sky shows for 2025. Sundogs, Momentous clouds, noctilucent clouds, the whole shebang.
Sundogs. I love those. The bright spots on either side of the sun, right?
Those are the ones, like mini-suns. They're caused by sunlight bending through ice crystals in the atmosphere.
Those are cool. But Momentous clouds, what are those?
Those are the weird ones. They look like pouches hanging down from storm clouds. Almost otherworldly, if you ask me.
So, like the opposite of sundogs. Weird dark pouches instead of bright spots. How did those even form?
It's sinking air, colder than the air around it. It creates these downward bumps on the bottom of the cloud.
That's so strange. And what about noctilucent clouds? What makes them special?
Those are the high flyers, literally. They form way up in the mesosphere, like 50 miles high. And you can only see them at twilight when the sun's below the horizon, but still lighting them up.
So they're like glowing clouds in the twilight sky. Sounds pretty magical.
They are. They've got this shimmering, iridescent quality that's just beautiful.
It's amazing what nature can do, right? Even in the most unexpected places.
It is. But you know what? I think we've covered a lot today.
We have. We've gone from unsettling to destructive to downright bizarre and everything in between. From online crime to climate change to quantum physics to, well, the potential end of the world as we know it. It's a lot to process, that's for sure.
It is. You know, in a way, it's kind of like we've been on this whirlwind tour of the human experience, all crammed into one day's worth of news. But there's still this one big question hanging over everything.
The big one.
Yeah.
What does it all mean?
Right. Are all these bizarre stories just random, or is there something bigger going on, something we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, are we in the Twilight Zone? Or is this just, I don't know, life as usual now?
It's a good question. I mean, these stories definitely push the boundaries of what we usually think of as normal, but maybe that's what makes them so interesting. They force us to think differently, to question what we think we know about the world.
When you think about it, there's probably a lot of weird stuff happening all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just most of it doesn't end up on the news.
Exactly. So maybe the bizarre isn't really that bizarre. Maybe it's just a part of life, part of how the universe works, something we usually don't notice.
It's like we're all living in this giant cosmic circus,
Yeah.
and every once in a while, the curtain gets pulled back, and we see how crazy it all really is.
I like that analogy. And as unsettling as it can be, it's also kind of amazing, don't you think? To get these glimpses behind the scenes, to remember that we don't have all the answers.
It's humbling, that's for sure, especially when you think about all the mysteries we've talked about today.
Mhm.
Like, will we ever know what happened to Ashley Elkins? Or why that Instagram guy did what he did? What about those crystals? Will we ever fully understand how they work? Are some things just beyond our understanding?
I think that's a question that philosophers have been wrestling with for centuries, and I don't know if there's a simple answer. Some mysteries, yeah, we'll probably solve them eventually, with enough time, resources, maybe a little luck. But others, maybe they're just unknowable. Maybe the evidence is gone, or maybe the truth is just, well, too complicated for us to grasp right now.
Like, there's a limit to what we can know, even with all our fancy technology.
Maybe so, but I don't think that's a bad thing. The unknown is what keeps us curious, what keeps us searching, exploring, pushing the limits.
It's like, if we knew everything, wouldn't that make life pretty boring?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's the questions that drive us forward, and sometimes the most amazing discoveries come from the most unexpected places. Think about those exploding crystals.
Yeah, who would have thought they'd be so, well, explosive?
Right. They could change everything from how we fly to how we explore space. You just never know.
There's wonder hidden everywhere, even in the bizarre.
Exactly. And that's a good reminder for all of us. As we deal with all the craziness of the world, let's keep our minds open to the unexpected. Let's embrace the bizarre because who knows, maybe that's where we'll find the most important truths.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up our deep dive into the bizarre news of January 8th, 2025.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. But before we go, we want to hear from you. What stories stood out to you? What left you scratching your head? Let us know on our website or social media. We always love hearing from our listeners.
And as you go about your day, remember to stay curious, keep exploring, and keep an eye out for the bizarre. You never know what you might find.
Until next time, everyone.